Hello and welcome back to ParanormalNL Podcast, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. That's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, JV-Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. For tonight's UFO special on UPRN segment number 31, I've got a special guest tonight waiting backstage from Iowa, USA, who I'll bring on shortly. Now, it's time to grab those tinfoil hats, your favorite cold one, and get ready for the show tonight. ParanormalNL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, a boots-on-the-ground BOG team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. Follow PNL Podcast and the BOG team on their link tree, ParanormalNL Podcast, and contact them at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com. Now, let's get on with the show. Tonight, I have on with me, all the way from Iowa, I've got Coley Weber, otherwise known as Coley UFO. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
Yes, Coley, I should say to the folks listening in, welcome back, because you were on the show just when I was doing, radio. Previously, I think it was season 2, I want to say episode 31 or 83.
You got a good memory. Yeah. We were just reminiscing about it. I used to be able to go on in your PJs and no one would even know. But yeah, I love your show. You've done so much with it.
Thanks. And you've done a lot of radio too. You were on Helix Rock Radio before, right?
Yes, I was. And now it's at SNX Radio. And so we're trying to, we're getting out there, and it's been a wild ride. It really has been.
Now, for the folks listening, Coley, who don't know you, if they haven't listened into the season 2, episode 83, tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name is, I go by Nichole. Coley is a nickname, but it's stuck. So, but I'm from Iowa. I was born and raised here, traveled around a bit. I was born a medium. I was into the paranormal big time growing up. That was an interesting childhood, but it wasn't until 2017 that I encountered my first UFO. It was MUFON came out and investigated it. It was 50 foot in diameter, 30 feet away. And it forever changed my direction in life and my purpose in life. So it's been an exciting, wild ride, let me tell you. But I've grown to really appreciate all of it. And even though I started off, I was like, nobody wants to be that crazy UFO lady.
But now, is that what's got you into the radio, is talking with more experiencers about their experiences?
Well, it started off, I asked why I was here in one of my very first abduction experiences, and they said I was here for communication. So I thought, if the more people I was going, neighbor to neighbor, that's how I started. And then it started to grow from there. But I never in a bazillion years would I have thought, because I was a mental health therapist for 7 years. And, if you told me that I would have been on radio talking about this 10 years ago, I'd been like, no way, girl.
Yeah,
Jen, no way, girl.
Away from it, right? Yeah, especially where I'm from. I'm a little island, but I'm sure Iowa. Maybe. Do you guys? Did you have a lot of the drone stuff action over there?
We did. Well, I was, a part of a MUFON phone call from Nebraska to Iowa, and they were talking about it. This is at the beginning of the whole COVID thing or whatever, that they were getting all these reports of drones. But so we have a lot of farmland around here, and we know that we have local drones. So nobody could really tell the difference of what was going on, if it were normal or it were abnormal, at some point. But they said, I know that in Nebraska through Iowa, at one time they were getting 70, 80 calls. And this is actually before all of the drone
activity
out. Yes. So they were on, and they even offer it as a service here to monitor your farmland or your land here.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think I'd do that, but Yes, so we have local drones like through our local police department and things like that. So yeah, the drones here, so it was easy to recognize what was what, but I still don't have a clear and definite like understanding of exactly what was going on. But
Yeah, you
yeah,
do a lot of research too, right? And to
yes,
with
I do.
your
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You want to talk about some of those,
Oh gosh, I
or any
spend
that
it on my
kind of any that kind of like stick out in your mind that viewers you think would like to hear about?
Well, I know that, it's, like the typical, I guess, I've grown to understand. I used to run around like as an experiencer in the beginning. You can always tell by somebody's like sense of urgency. And I like had that sense of urgency and I had to learn to really like, okay, it's not on my time here. It'll never be on my time. I can't control this. But I think that what I don't really talk about a lot is that I had some pretty extreme like medical conditions in the beginning of all this. And after seeing my first UFO, which was in July of 2017, bordering on December of 2017, going into 2018, I was out and I was recording, and it was in Cascade, Iowa. And it was near, probably within, a few miles of where I saw the first one and experienced it. So I thought that was, the day, the time, whatever. So then I started looking back and I was like, I got to contact MUFON Dave Creeder because that's in Iowa. You can look him up, MUFON. He's the one that came and investigated the case. And he's now, I believe he's I'm going to say he's pretty high up there now. I don't know if he's got the whole Iowa thing yet or not, but yeah, he's been with him forever. So freely reach out to him, do your checks. I always encourage it. Anyway, I was like, God, I really need to, tell MUFON Dave about this. So I started looking, and it wasn't that day that I did have video and everything from that day. It was the day before. And I actually have pictures, and Jen, I'll share them with you. Like, it was like an actual
Sure.
crash, and it was like coming like right over, and I was like, whoa. And I just remember like going against the wall, and I was like, and I just had this like just this flash of like, what you would call ET, and it was like I thought, hold on here a minute. So I had to go back through, and I was like, okay, so that's missing time. The day before that I had no recollection of, I thought I was sleeping in bed, doing whatever, was actually when I had first come encounter with this. The second night that I had come out, that I thought was day one again, like I didn't know if I'd ever see another UFO again after I saw it in July. So this is going in December, and I'm getting ready to move and all that. So I was like, whoa, and I just remember thinking, this is crazy. How would it, so I didn't quite know what to do, but I did call MUFON Dave, and I was like, hey, I don't know how to explain this. I said, but I've got video, I've got pictures, it's me. I know it's me. It's my phone. It's my house. Like, I know the overhang, like, but this is the day before that I think, the night before. So it was just unbelievably crazy. So there was like a few situations. So I thought that, in that move, like I'm moving from Cascade back to Dubuque, and I stop and I legitimately say goodbye. I think, well, if I saw them here, like they're not going to follow me. They're not, but I was that attached already, it was that attached.
Right.
And I had, like I said, at the same time, I had neck surgery. I had 2 discs replaced in my neck. I've got like 6 screws. I got lots of plates, but I lost
Gosh, yeah.
my whole
Been
right
in the
side.
OR doing lots of those procedures, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, I didn't realize it, but I was making Jello with my son, and I just dropped over. I was taken by ambulance, and I lost my whole right side, so I had to learn how to like feed myself, and I hadn't quite gone back to like the clinical field yet, and I was going through. I had infection after infection after infection, to the point where my
I
family
think
was really
Coley got
concerned. Oh, can you not hear me? I can hear you. Oh no. Am I froze? I don't know what the heck. You can hear me? No. Oh, shoot. Oh man. Jen, where are you? No joking. Let's see here. Maybe I'll go out and come back in.
UPRN brings the absolute best productions in various genres, which include but are not limited to metaphysical, current events, lifestyle, sports, holistic, politics, and news. The network also has a wide range of shows that collectively delve into high strangeness topics, such as the paranormal, ufology, cryptozoology, ancient technology, civilizations, esoteric, supernatural, occult, conspiracy theories, the unexplained, and the out of this world. Today that we've been recording in Barcelona and Spain, they lost a lot of power. Who knows? Maybe there's some stuff going on out there in the atmosphere, Holly. But I can see you there now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, right before I lost you, there was seemed to be a lot of interference. But I think there's been a lot of interference lately, right? With space weather and sunspots and CMEs lately.
We have some tremendous like winds going on here. So, but I could see you. So I was like, I don't know if I'm on or you're on. So I was just kind of trying to fill the, fill the gap as I could. So, yes. Can you still hear me? Oh, no. Gross. So I'm not sure if
Can you hear me now? I
Yeah, I
lost.
can now.
Yes. Okay. So we're back recording. I think we'll pick up where we left off, which is really
Okay.
freaking weird. That's all I can say. Like really weird. But
I
let's.
was watching and I was like, where did she go? So I'm sometimes StreamYard will kick me out from time to time, but my internet is showing good. Like I'm showing full bars. So I
Yeah,
don't
I even
know.
went to make sure my husband wasn't streaming something or no, I don't know what's going on with the power and the weather today. It's just one of those
It's
weird
crazy
days.
here.
So
Yes, it's crazy
so
here
you
too.
were talking a little bit about MUFON. I guess we should give a shout out to some of the people who I can say I've had on the show thanks to you, like Steve Ferrami, he was on. He was with MUFON in the New England. He was a director
Yeah.
of the state. He was on season 2, episode 110. But you were talking about talking with Dave from MUFON.
Yes, Dave Creeder. Yep, he's the one that came out, and we kind of built a friendship after that. After that, he took me to some really cool places, like in Iowa City, where they had like a huge black triangle, and he had never experienced a UFO. And when I brought him here, he came to Dubuque too. So we became buddies, And it's like I love MUFON. Like you got to appreciate them. They're out there, they're not getting paid. They're volunteers. Their heart and soul is really into this. So
There's a
yeah,
lot of work that goes into it, right?
yes, definitely. And for them to come out, like when I first experienced it, I didn't know who MUFON was or who to call. I was on, like on my computer, and I was like, okay, so I came across it, and I'm like, do I make a report? Do I not make a report?
Right,
So
because a lot of people don't realize you can go back, like if it happened years ago, you can still make a report, and some people even have some physical evidence that they can submit and things like that, right?
Yes. I encourage you guys to reach out. Like, well, I know that with Arrow and part of the DoD, and so there was a point where I told them that I'll continue to like share things with you, but it needs to go into an unmarked file because I just didn't. I don't like to do the work of the United States government. I'm sorry, but I don't. And so anybody who knows me knows I do not like to do that. And so that's kind of their barter or their trade too. So there was, I know a lot of even people that have left before, but there's been a few things on the inside I can tell you later about what's been going on with them, and especially like so I didn't at that time want to do the work of the government, but I'll just leave it at that. Anybody who knows me knows what I'm talking about. But Dave came out, and he had a way of taking like the pictures before I dropped the camera on the ground because I didn't know what to do. I mean, there's very few times where I'm A, don't have anything to say, or B, like, ready to run from anything really. But I was out. The first encounter happened at St. Patrick's Church it was between Bernard, Iowa and Cascade, Iowa. Like it's not even anywhere near civilization, but there was like an old part in the cemetery in that paranormal. I was like, oh, let's go take some pictures, so I was out taking pictures thinking I was going to find, some ghosts, but no, I did not. Like I'd say it found me. It really did. And I'll share the photo because you'll hear me say there was 2 trees, and I was so thankful these 2 trees were there but I mean, like it couldn't have just hopped over it, but to me it felt safer because it was some distance between. And I have to say that what I saw, I felt like I didn't feel like there was anybody aboard it, even though this, you got to understand, this is 50 foot in diameter. I'm 30 feet away. I'm up on a hill. So I'm almost like eye level, maybe it's 10 feet above me. So, and I saw it come from what MUFON Dave measured it to be 1 mile to 30 feet away. So it just like slowly crept over. And I tell you, it was one of the most, I mean, once you see that, you can't say, okay, they're real. Like I had a neighbor with me and she's screaming. She clearly saw it too. So, it's like you can't go back. That point was a point in my life that was so pivotal. Like it just like completely changed my direction and where I thought I was going. But you gotta understand, at the same time, I'm still having this struggle. Like how am I going to take care of my child? I'm, debilitated from this surgery. It was supposed to bring back, like, my hand was supposed to work again. Like, it wasn't supposed to be all swollen. Like, there'd be times I'd be standing and doing laundry and I would just tip over, or I went to throw a ball and it went like 2 feet in front of me. So it was just like, and like I said, I had infection after infection. And it was just
tell us more about like the aircraft that you saw?
Yeah, definitely. It was your typical like spherical. It was so. All I can tell you is it was locked into me, and I was locked into it, and it was like it anticipated me as much as I.
So it kind of saw you and came toward you, kind of like a lot of people describe CE5 events like that, where they're out, they're minding their own business, but all of a sudden they see something and then it sees them and then it comes towards them. Is it more like that?
Yeah, because later I had a better understanding for it, a feel for it, because there's a connection. Like there's no doubt about it, because after I saw an experience, it's not just like, hey, you witness this, it's like you experience this.
Right.
There's so many emotional things I can't even tell you. And I remember saying to Mufon Dave, do you think I'll see another one? And he said, yeah, I think so. And I was like, okay. Like I just kind of took that, like, but then I started to kind of look out, and I had this like it's like I started to build this relationship with what I was seeing. And so I guess to go a little bit further into it, it's like slowly creeping over. Slowly, when I say slowly creeping over, but it looked like a controlled like jet stream. But like I always say, LED lights, you got to think of 2017, like kids' rooms weren't rimmed with these LED lights like they are now.
Right.
So this was like something different that I was seeing, and I was watching it, and I noticed it. And so then when it came, decided to come over for a visit. But my friend Jessica is like at her car, she's screaming, let's go. And I was like, and finally I broke, concentration with it. And I looked at her. As soon as I did, boom, he was over like the other tree. And I was like, wow. So then we both watched it as I turn again, because she's screaming, let's get in the car, let's go. She was not made for this at all.
A lot of people say it completely changes their lives when they have an experience, and that's why there's so many different places like graniteskyservices.org with with folks who I've had on there, like Mike Stevens from Granite Skies, with with Nomar Slavic, and there's so many different people who've had all these experiences, and there's a lot of different places for help, because people just don't understand and can't wrap their head around what did they see, right?
You see, that's so true. That is so true. With her, it wasn't the same. She didn't want. She's like, I saw what you saw, because as soon as I got back in her car, because we saw this thing shoot off. And it was off in the horizon, and it broke off into, I'd say, like 8 or 9, what I call light balls, but light spheres. So there were, so I was like, we got to go follow it. Let's get in. So I hopped in the passenger seat, and we're driving in her car.
Like that Mimi, right?
Yeah. Let's go. I'm not thinking. That's the kind of person I am. That's the friend I am. We're moving. Let's go. And she's like, okay, I think I know. So we start going.
So you get in the car and you're moving towards this.
And we're moving.
object?
Well, I'm not exactly sure because I don't know this area as well as what she
Right.
does. She happened to be a neighbor. I said, "Oh, you like the paranormal? Do you like to do whatever?" So I wanted to learn the back roads, of Cascade and all this stuff. So she's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'll show you." But when we got out there, so I mean, here in Iowa and going back in 2017, like our power lines are still above ground, and we came, and she pulls over, and I'm like, just pull over here, because I started looking, and it looks like somebody on the power line, we both saw it, is just taking it, and it's just like, and I said, that's not normal. I don't know an amount of wind I've seen has ever done that to a power line before. And she's like,
strange.
So we look above. Yeah. So we look above, and there's this like metallic metal gray, like, like almost kind of like a dome. And I was like, Jessica, I think it's above. And she's like, so we both come back in the car. And we go back, whoosh, back to my house.
And it makes it even more real when you got another witness with you, right?
Right.
When you tell somebody else, they're like, yeah, well, talk to my friend. She saw it too, right?
Yeah. Well, she was so afraid. See, what happens is a lot of people that I've had along, because I had a whole neighbor when I moved, like when I said goodbye, like it was they kept coming. So I was that neighbor, like yelling. I was like, whoa, so I had a whole neighborhood like watch team going at one time. It was fabulous.
Okay.
Like, yeah, they're like the crazy. I was like, I don't care what you say. I'm here. Okay. I was told I was here for communication. When we get to that part, like, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm doing my part.
The neighborhood UFO watch. So a lot of other folks chime in with stuff that they saw.
Yeah. So I had one, Sarah, she was great. And I'd be like, no, don't tell me before. Okay. If we're in two separate spots, because I wanted that confirmation. Right. But I have to say, so if you go back to that medical, like, I'm having all these problems. My family thinks that I'm like seriously close to death. I don't know, whatever they think. But I had infection. I was on antibiotics for like 2 years straight. But I have to say, so fast forwarding, if you go to January of 2019, it's right after, or excuse me, 2018, it's right after I moved. And I was begging, Jen, I was begging for that tour. I was like, come on, I want that. I heard the neighbor say the Nichole tour. I was like, that sounds great. I want that Nichole tour. I want the dime. I don't care. Please. I just want to see. I just like, because they really started coming in which that seems like pretty normal for people who first start experiencing it, that, they have this high level of activity. But after, I'd have to say, I remember my friend coming, and I turned around and I was like a ninja, like, poof, he was right behind me. And I was like, I swear, like, took him out. And he's like, whoa, I thought you didn't have any strength. I said, I did not up until last night. It was like somebody jolted me with like electricity. So all I can explain it. But I was about 50% better. And this is when they say the medical curve, you're not going to get any, it's like I tried to go to a physical therapist. They're like, oh, you obviously have more going on, comorbid disorders here, until you find out from your doctor, we can't do anything. And I was like, for real, So I'm like, at this point, like 50%, just in, so I remember when I first moved, I was laying there and I was watching the microwave, the clock, and there was like a third. I can't remember if it was like an alarm clock. We gotta think 2018. Okay, I know it doesn't sound like forever ago, but technology has come.
Technology soars, yeah.
Yes. So I saw it go 5, flash 3 times, boom, 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 to 5:40.
Okay.
Like, whoa. So I even called. I called the power company the next day, and I thought, well, maybe it's, the power company. Maybe something's going on here. But no, I had no explanation for it. But that's where I remember then meeting the Grays. And that's when I started to have some markings on me. Yeah. And it's okay. For me, some people that I've interviewed or talked to, they don't really like that. They're like, well, because you're in their time, in their space. Right. There's no other way of putting it. Because I remember even there being a transitional period where I was maybe in like a state of like limbo, or, where it's just complete. And it took a little bit to transition back. So I just remember thinking, ooh, this is getting crazy. So I want to call MUFON Dave, and I want to know what the next chapter of the book is, and what do you do once you get aboard the craft? So I remember calling Dave and Creeder, and he was always there, like, didn't matter. And I was like, hey, now what? Okay, I know now, because the first time I told you that I had experienced this, I had all these recordings and pictures the night before, that I don't remember. That's my first segment of missing time. But now I met them, and he's like, oh, did the veil lift? I was like, what do you mean, the veil? Okay, did you not hear what I just told you? What is our step 2? What is MUFON? What does your guide say on what happens once you get on that aircraft? He's like, we don't have a step 2. And I was like, Dave, what do you mean there's no step 2? Okay. Like, I got on board, like, come on now. Where's this step 2?
But now you got to describe, what did you see when you got on board? Okay. What did you see?
Well, the first time that I consciously recall, they were grays, and this is where part is, I was on an LED light table. I could see myself. So I'm positioned like above them, so I could see myself. But when I look at them, it's through myself, like on the table. And I remember saying to them, why am I being restrained? I don't particularly like being restrained. And they said, because of contamination. Okay. That they don't give you like, hey, lengthy responses. Well, contamination, this, and this. Am I the contaminant? Are you the contaminant? Who's the contaminant? So, and then I said, why am I here? Why am I going through this? And they said, you're here for communication. Okay. Well, that's like about as general as you can get, So I'm thinking MUFON's got to have chapter 2 going on, and they do not. Okay. So I don't know if I'm more alarmed by ET or by the fact that MUFON doesn't have level 2 going. But I'm telling you that it was so phenomenal. It was so. Do I think that I remember talking about it in the beginning. I was like, I think they had some empathy, but they were more robotic. And the more that I got to learn, but it was what started.
Right. Do you think they even have empathy? Like, when there's so many different types of them, because, like, I mean, it's like us going to an ant farm and picking out one ant. I mean, you don't know that ant. I mean, you can't talk to it. It doesn't communicate like we do. So they don't mind hurting it or pulling its arms off or whatever, right?
Right. And that's so a part of me wanted to really believe that they might have had some empathy, or they might have had, but I knew that it was a trade-off. So I knew that. I had like an abdominal, like, markings, where a lot of times when I had the markings, I didn't necessarily remember the experience, or vice versa. But the weirdest one that I had was there was twice where I saw an abundance of them, of the light spheres, and you can tell, like, some of them are playful. I started naming them. That's how
kind of like orbs, you mean? Or
a little bit, yes, like orbs, but they were encapsulated. So
okay.
So the weirdest one, I guess I'll go to the weirdest one. I was out in my parking lot, and I was looking up, and I'm seeing this, but I see a star formation. Like, I'm watching it above, So I go in, my friend's in there, and I'm like, hey, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure I don't go anywhere? He's like, what do you? And I'm like, can you just look out my stinking window and make sure that I don't go anywhere? And he's like, okay, yeah, no problem. Go ahead. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, so I walk down the stairs. I'm on the parking lot, and I look over, and I would say maybe 4 feet, there was like a red and a blue one. And I remember looking back and saying, wow, there are a lot of you. And it echoed 3 times. And I was like, whoa, like an amphitheater. And that's the first time. Because a lot of people think, okay, when they're telepathically talking, it's not always that. It's a lot of times they're showing you pictures. They're showing you, different things, like you're actually experiencing it with them. Telepathic's not like you hear something in your head necessarily. Not that's not a way, but it's kind of like you'll try different things, like talking over it. Okay, see. So I was watching, and I just remember these 2 playful ones, but then I saw who I called the Night Creeper. And he's coming, and he's coming slowly. And I thought, Jen, he's like a electrical ball. And I thought, there's no way I'm getting aboard that. I'm gonna end up into like dust. There's no possible way I can get on that. So that was about the only time I backed up at a certain point, and I walked myself back up, and then my friend's sitting in front of the TV, and I said, were you watching to make sure I wasn't going anywhere? And I said, okay.
You're like, no, I'm still here, right? I survived. But like, how long would other, some people get implants and all this kind of stuff. You haven't gotten any of those things, have you?
I have. Yes, I have. But I believe that I have. I had the first one I felt in my wrist. It was all a lot on my right side, but that was going back, the part that was so damaged that I fully have recovered. I can say that I'm like 1,000 times better, stronger. I'm balanced. I do things like I couldn't even go back on my roller skates. Like, I'm being competitive. I'm telling you, it went from, that's the trade-off that I'll always say that I appreciate. So if you had to take me in the middle of the night, we didn't schedule it. Okay, by so means be it, because I could now be a mother. I mean, I'm out competing on the ramps with my child again and my roller skates, so this is a lot to take in.
So were there other people in your family too that had experiences?
Yes, my son and my brother actually saw one 2 weeks prior to me seeing it. My brother will not. My son watches everything, he knows too, but my brother is like very uncomfortable talking about it. He's like, I listen, and he'll really like try and he'll be in the chat and like, she's telling you the truth. Like, and I'm like, Eric, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Find it difficult to talk about. But then you have other people who write books about it, like Karen Wilkinson, Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. I think, even L.A. Marzulli wrote the intro to hers, and she was a UFO abductee with not fun things that happened to her. That was season 2, episode 17. Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of people.
You got a memory of steel, girl. I love it. I love it. But you're right. Not everybody appreciates us. Not everybody will appreciate this. But yeah. I've met there's been 3 different sound kind that I've come in contact with. Every single one has been different, and I almost feel like it. Like, I remember talking to Preston Dunn and Dolly Saffron. I'm like, I don't know what you call it. I don't want to say training program, but Preston had a good word for it. I'm trying to think now. It's like you're going through this process, and like what you're seeing, and every single one, like the tall grays, they let me move around freely, but I remember seeing a med bay. I remember seeing the children. I don't think the children have come yet. I do not think they have introduced the children yet, but that's my opinion.
What's your theory about the sleep paralysis portion of it? I know a lot of people got books out there like Vicki Joy Anderson and sleep paralysis. And I think she was on season 2, episode 44. Have you talked to her about, or any other people about that theory?
I know the sleep paralysis, that borderlines with the paranormal. Now, this is what I didn't realize, is that so many people with this have a paranormal background as well. I grew up what you would define as a medium. I'll say I grew up seeing spirits and communicating with them, and that was my shame piece, or piece I had to hide because my mom wanted to call the priest and have an exorcist done, and just really, and then going back, like our computers, like those nice Apple with the green screens. So I used to type
tuned in from an early age, right? So
yes,
yeah.
But I said I've for the longest time I'd say, how does the paranormal cross with ET? So but then getting to know,
call it together though. Like even when I say paranormal, I group it all together, not just ET. Yeah. I mean, there's the Bigfoot, there's anything that's high species.
Yes,
I call it paranormal, right? You can't anything unexplained.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. And I remember I had a guest one time, they're like, it's not paranormal, it's normal. They want you to think that it's the and I was like, oh, you're probably right. Yeah. Probably that's probably been it, is like case solved after, all these years I've been asking everybody, where does the paranormal and the ET meet? But it seems like experiencers though do have, and they'll talk about that mediumship. I don't like really putting labels on it. Like I say, I saw spirits, but they'll say be a little bit professional.
So do you think people that are tuned into like a higher vibration or something can sense them more than somebody else who don't pay attention to those things? Because that old saying, if you look into the paranormal, it looks back. Well, is that the same thing for ET, unexplained things?
I believe that 1000%, because I got to the point, but now I'm like obsessively for like 7 years. I'm going out in my new location and I'm looking at different. I know what tree, I know what light is there. I know what's normal. I know what's not normal. I know so there's, you can feel them calling out to you, like you call out to them. And I remember in the beginning, I contacted Christos or Paulo, and he was on the Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs. And I never thought, oh gosh, somebody's going to get back to me. I had like one subscriber at that time, and he did. And so he taught me a lot about, what tactical lights to use, so I was out there religiously. It didn't matter if it's in the middle. This is the Midwest, and we get some cold nights, let me tell you.
Right. Yeah.
And it didn't matter. I was out there at the same time, at the same place. And I would say it averaged at least like, I've even testified to this in court. So I eat like every 2 weeks, if not like more. I mean, we had some just, and when they would come, the excitement level was so exciting that I would just like run out of my back deck and I would yell, and it was just like an amphitheater, and the neighbors, it was like they were used to my antics by this time. And I'd already gone around and like to every single
their neighborhood watch, right? But do you find that they showed up more often on different weather patterns, or what do you think attracted them more or made them show up more?
It seemed like there was like like I almost felt like there was I would say like a attachment to them that they needed to kind of wean me off of so I could go on with why I'm supposed to be here. So, as much as I wanted them to keep coming, and I was like that child, it was like I was graduating now to the next level, and I needed to take what I had learned from them, and I'm here for communication, whatever the hell that means, right? And so at that time I still didn't understand it. I still didn't understand it until today, and obviously like I don't know why. But
well, there's a lot of people out there who, like to talk about it and why we're here. Like, I want to say, for example, like Nancy Thames, Time for Disclosure.
Nancy.
She was
I love Nancy.
Season 2, episode 98. Shout out to Nancy. Yeah, I mean, it is time for a disclosure. Come on, folks. If you know stuff, let everybody else know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And Nancy's on the same page. I love Nancy. She actually found me when I was on Spaced Out Radio. I used to do the after hours show on Spaced Out Radio. And she's like, I want to talk to you. And since then, Nancy and I have done some work together. So she's absolutely beautiful. And some of the stuff that she has done. I would have to say that the government, if you're waiting for the government, let's not do that. But
they're not going to tell us
they're
much
not
at all.
going to tell you the truth. Yeah, if you think that.
They're not going to tell us much at all.
Yeah, I'm not you. If you think that I'm just not for you, that's okay. Whatever. But my whole thing is, let's join together. I am such a team player. It doesn't matter. I'm not like, hey, just if it's SNX or no, I will give you every single person that I have in my contact book. And I will seriously, like, if this is disclosure, the experiencers are the ones I think we can put together the dots.
Yeah. Like, for example, remote viewing, like Tony Rodriguez, right?
Oh yeah, Tony Rodriguez.
Yeah, author of Beyond Sight, and I think he was on season 2, episode 99. So I mean, there's a lot of remote viewers out there who've seen and experienced some weird stuff, right?
Oh, Tony's a good friend. Yeah, Tony Rodriguez is like, he's great. He did the 20 years and back. And if you get like people like him, like I gotta say, Laura Eisenhower, she's like my soul sister. I love her. There's, Diana Louise, there's so many people out there. Like, go, and we all have like our segments. It's like, if that's not my area where I'm like my specialty, I'm gonna hand you off to who's area that I know it is and that I trust. And I'm all about it, because if we can do this and we can force the government into what we call FOSURE, which is forced disclosure, then we can maintain control of the narrative, and they're not going to use that little piece against us, because that's kind of what they've been doing this whole entire
time, right? There's power in numbers. Yeah, sure. Even for Jim Goodall, he was on.
Jim,
Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force. Thank you for your service. Yeah, he was talking about stealth and the Blackbirds, season 2, episode 109. I mean, I know that a lot of people say, "Oh, it's all our stuff." Well, some of it, may be ours. Yeah, some of it might be reverse engineered. But what about the rest of it that we just can't explain?
Right. And that's great. Like, I love Jim Goodall. Congratulations, Jim, on getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, congratulations, Jim. Woohoo! Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I can actually, he anytime I've done my first like episode on any, like, if I switched over, he's always the first one, and he always knows it's going to be a catastrophe, and he always does it. And I absolutely love him. So
whenever I talk about, for some strange reason, UFOs, the government and all this kind of stuff, that's when we have reception problems. Like Mac Maloney's Military X-Files, I had him on, and then during that was a radio show, but we still had problems, and he was laughing, saying, yeah, it happens to me all the time. Right? Like, are they listening in? Who's listening? Is it the aliens or the government?
Our government. Aliens, they don't need to listen in, they can already see through, is the way I look at it. But
right,
it always, that's so funny that you say that. There's times and I'm like, oh, well, somebody said the word of the week or whatever, but on my channel I refuse. Like, I respect other people, but I'm like, you don't hold back, you got truth, let's tell it. Like, let's
get it out there. Yeah,
right.
Because it could be somebody else, going through the same thing. You just don't know, right? And it's not just in certain places of the world. It's all over the place. Like, I had somebody, UFOs over PEI with David Ross on season 2, episode 81. They talk about the Atlantic East Coast. We've got a lot of alien stuff on the go over here too.
Preston Bennett is doing hometown. Like, there's not a place that he hasn't found. Like, she's doing a challenge. Like, give me your location. Preston and Ollie Saffron, they're great people. And Preston's done a lot of work, but he, in hometown, I like handed over all my information. He came back. He's like, in the 1800s, there was this. And so I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because it's to know that you're just not the only, like, person out there, because it's used. Let me tell you, it is used to their advantage. It doesn't matter, because they watch, then like the local people or the law enforcement have watched my page, and they get a little upset from time to time, and I'll get a phone call or whatever, and I'm like, I don't care what you say, like, about my little quote unquote conspiracies. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing and telling the truth, because this obviously, like, if people need to understand that by doing even what you're doing, there's a sacrifice in that. So I appreciate, like I said, Jen, you're awesome, and you do some amazing work and amazing interviews. So I
you.
just want to thank you for that because I know what comes with the price. I do. I know.
Yeah, we all us podcasters definitely know that, don't we? We've all had some people, say weirdness, but I also got to give a shout out to another person I had on, Brian Bowden. He's got a new podcast now, and he did some CE5 work also, and he's in. I think he did a couple of different episodes. I think one of the earlier ones was season 2, episode 63, but Third Eye Live is what he does now, podcasting. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, shout out to Brian. Good job. I love that. Yes.
There's so many of us, right? Podcasting who've had people on who talked about it. We're getting the word out. We're trying to get everybody together, not to feel like they're alienated, pardon the pun, right? But
Right.
There's a lot of people out there who need to talk about it and who want to learn more about what happened to them, right?
Yes. And that's a huge thing. And I just want to say to the people out there, because I was you, just remember going back, I was you, and that sense of urgency. And I thought, I was like, I need to figure this all out. And I was like a lunatic. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this. So my research, I built a research wall. And I'm like, I'm putting this all together. I really am. I'm putting this all together and I'm figuring it out. But the thing of it is, once I got the most pieces, when I understood, like, I'm going to wait back because it happens. I will find they give you the answers. They will definitely give you the answers. Just be patient. Just realize that sense of urgency is a part of this. And it's a part of the awakening process. And you're not alone. You're not alone.
That's right.
There's many out there. Yes.
Just like Nancy Dream said, time for disclosure.
Yes, it is. Rip that Band-Aid off. Rip that Band-Aid off.
Right, that's right. Do you want to give a few shout outs to your fans?
Absolutely. I just want to say that the support among the SNX Radio crew has just been unbelievable. Like the people that have, I feel like I was that person with one subscriber and I just wanted somebody to listen to me and I just wanted to have that voice. So I'm telling you that just hang in there and reach out and, miraculous things are going to happen. When you start to figure out, it's not just about what happened to you, but it's about who you are supposed to be and who you are becoming and where this road is going to take you. That is what really matters. It wasn't who I was back then, was just the beginning. And I cannot be more grateful and more thankful for this whole process and how it's come to light, because the person that I have become is exactly who I am supposed to be. And as crazy as that sounds, like, what does that mean? Right?
Well, you're on the right path, right? I mean, a lot of people say, like, what is my purpose in life? What am I supposed to do? Well, you're on your right path. You found your path, you're trying to figure it all out, and you're out there in the world with your feelers, talking to everybody else in the world, figuring it all out.
Right. And I love it. And I love this, and just so many opportunities and people coming and they're, I feel so honored by that. And I'm always like, just reach out. And I'm one of those people, if I can't help you, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody who can, because that is what really communication is let's connect these dots and connect the people and let's stand unified. We need to be good to one another.
That's another big theme too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Regardless of whatever, we can all agree that we want the truth to be told, because that truth is a part of our lives. And it's a part of the pieces that we fragmented pieces that we may hold. But I hold those, and I hold those in like deep in within me, because they always have been answered in the time that was right, or the time that it was meant to be. So as long as I became, more patient, that doesn't mean like, I'm going to change altogether. Those friends will be like, do you have to talk about the UFOs? If we go, oh yeah, girl, we're talking about it.
Well, it's just like the old X-Files poster, right? I want to believe. I think we all had one of those posters. Now, you want to give a shout out to your fans on where they can find you?
I do, yes. Yes. Oh, okay. You can find me at Coley UFO. I haven't been able to shake it, but on Twitter we have a great following. So Coley UFO, SNX Radio, SNX. Just look us up. Rodney and I, we're out there and we're rocking this every weekend. So every Friday and Saturday night, you can find us live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and we are going on all those platforms. So we have just kind of been doing our thing, but it has. The support and the following has been unbelievably appreciated, and every single person out there that has been watching and asking and doing I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, because there's no way that we'd be able to do what we're doing without you. So
there you are on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, so we are on YouTube. YouTube I had shut down a few different times. So I tell people that's definitely not our biggest platform, but I do back it up on YouTube, and it's a great place to come and ask questions. So if we're going live, that's a great place to find us to, get your questions in there. Twitter, you have to click on it. You have to do a little bit more, but most of our following is actually from Twitter, off the radio end. So yeah, but anyway, you find us, and if you need, just go ahead and DM me. Jen will put you in contact.
And if you've got any comments during the live chat watch party, just put them down there, and one of us will get back to you or answer you right there in the live chat.
I will be watching live. Yes, definitely. I think that's awesome. So I want to thank you, Jen, for doing what you're doing for disclosure. And everybody, should be giving this a like and a subscribe and stay tuned, because this girl's got it going on. She knows.
And follow Coley, otherwise known as Coley UFO, on SNX Radio. And I've got all of her stuff down there on that banner. And get in the chat room there. Ask her some questions. Go and subscribe to her channels and like and comment. It all helps. So thanks again for being on United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM in that Gulf. I'm going to leave now with, let's see, how about some more BOG team music? Thanks for being on the show, Coley.
Thank you so much.
Peace out. Here we go with some BOG team music from Robert Dumont on the BOG team. Boots on the ground.